Hello again, my name is Octavia Susan, and with me today I'm hosting Mr. Elisha Mukisa, an ex-gay member who is here to create awareness of the homosexual activities that are happening in our country, Uganda. Elisha, would you please say hi to people?
Hello viewers, my name is Mukisa Elisha. I'm a Ugandan of sound mind, 26 years old, former student and a former ex-gay member, like she introduced me. And part of my reason why I'm here is to extend my call in creating awareness to everyone in relation to the homosexuality activities going on in schools, in churches, and in other public spaces. Yes.
Okay then, if I may ask, what are these gay activities that you would like to expose? What led you to talk about them, to create awareness about them?
Well, basically, I happened to be recruited into homosexuality while I was in school.
Okay.
Yes, I was in one of the schools just here in Kampala town, and I happened to be invited to attend one of the activities of an NGO whose mandate is actually to recruit children into homosexuality. So I happened to be invited by a fellow student who I later realized was an agent of theirs.
Wait. So you're saying that these activities are happening in our schools here in Uganda?
Yes.
So how does it start? How did you get recruited?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain. I was invited by a fellow student who, like I said, I later realized was an agent.
So how did they invite you? What did the student say?
Yeah, I'm going to explain how that came. Okay. He was a friend of mine who I had gotten in school already because I just joined the school and he was there already. So he had a lot of influence in school, probably because he had some good money on him and lived a luxury life, and so he had that lot of influence in school. So he invited me using a coupon. Like he gave me a coupon, and the coupon was an invitation coupon that you would barely use at the entrance point of that NGO to probably certify that you are indeed invited.
And what does the coupon say?
The coupon says you're invited to attend one of SMAG's activities, but it doesn't entail what kind of activities they are.
SMAG. What is SMAG?
SMAG in its lengthy context is Sexual Minority Uganda. Sexual Minority Uganda is an NGO that has existed for a number of 5 years and has been doing these kind of activities. So, and then the other thing I wanted to highlight is the coupon barely indicated that there was a transport refund of 500,000.
It did indicate that?
Yes.
Okay.
It had that serial number on it, which is used for scanning while at the entrance of the gate to the premises of SMAG. But then what triggered me was the indication of the 500,000. So you can try to imagine how many children out there in schools, if were offered this kind of coupon that is inviting them to attend an activity that entails how much money, such as 500,000, and basically you can be able to understand how many would be lowered and probably would go for the attendance of that activity. So I attended the activity. The first day of my attendance, I met other children.
So if I may ask, where do you go exactly?
I left school, like I said, I was in school.
Yes.
So I left school, not so certain of like exact date, but I remember it was during the week because SMAG works from Monday to Friday. So it was during the week, so I attended one of the activities at their offices, their shelters. They're called shelters.
Shelters.
Shelters in Ntinda Chigo.
Okay.
That is where the main shelters are.
Okay, we'll get back to the shelters. So what happens after you've gone to the shelters?
Upon reaching the shelters, I noticed that there were other children there. So only that gave me courage to understand that I wasn't alone.
You felt like you were in your environment, your fellow children, your fellow
Yeah. So I was probably feeling that kind of confidence that I was safe. After all, I wasn't the only person there.
Yeah.
So, let me point out this also. The shelters have well-equipped auditorium rooms, well facilitated with projectors, lightings, and all kinds of equipments used in such ways, such habits, like I'm going to explain in details.
Okay, so I want us to go back a little bit to the invitation. What was in your mind when you got a coupon? What did you think you were going to do?
Like I said, the coupon barely indicated that there was a transport refund. Even that time, my thinking capacity would not, of course, draw to what were the consequences of my attending that activity. My main interest was in the money.
How old were you then?
By then, I remember I was 16.
16?
Yeah.
16 is quite young. Okay, go on. So you reach the shelters. What happens next?
I reached, and like I said, I met a number of children there who had attended also. And basically what was being taught by the facilitator was equipping children with basics to do with human rights. How it was okay for a child to be to be gay, how being gay is born.
Okay.
And of course, I had earlier on heard about something to do with homosexuality, but then this was more detailed.
Okay.
So it pushed my mind to wonder what were the objectives of these people. Why were they kind of indoctrinating children with such
knowledge
lies, and I call them lies because they're total lies.
Yeah.
For example, you are a child attending an activity and you're not gay, but then the facilitator is telling you you're born gay. So there's that kind of confusion that is being indoctrinated in children. So I attended, and throughout the day, because there was this facilitation of breakfast, lunch, and then after everything, they started showing us how gay porn videos were being, how one would make gay porn video.
Wait, how were they showing you?
Like I said, they have projectors in those auditorium rooms. So they would project these movies and how they're made, how one gets involved in them, and all those kind of procedures of recording gay porn and what are the benefits. They'll take us through all that we get every after the activity.
So I can imagine a number of kids that are going to such activities because of the money.
Yeah.
And in the end, they're being indoctrinated about homosexuality.
Yes, and let me point out this also. I am in so much disagreement with most of the children in schools who say my interest is in the money.
Okay.
Trust me, by virtue of the fact that somebody is showing you gay porn, which you claim not to be gay, trust me, there is a psychological impact that gay porn that you're watching puts on your mental status, even when you're not born gay. Like they try to insinuate that one is born gay.
Oh, I see.
By virtue of the fact that you have watched, trust me, even
it
when you
stays
leave
in your mind.
It stays in your mind, so you will keep reflecting on what you watched,
and then out of curiosity you end up wanting to try
it.
I see.
Yeah, so definitely that happened to me personally. I reached a time after, I think I remember, like after 6 months, I was just like with any other member that if one wanted to participate in the activity, there was an amount laid down for one to get like the beneficiaries. And I remember they said every video that one shoots is equivalent to 5 million Ugandan shillings. So I remember I did
Okay, I'm going to back it up a little bit. So you said the student came to your school and he gave you a coupon.
Yeah, he was a student.
He was a student,
like I said.
and he gave you a coupon.
Yes.
So do you think there are other schools in Uganda that are having such students?
Yes, like I am going to explain. I later realized that upon a recruiter recruiting,
Yeah.
whoever they recruit after they get sick, you know, one thing you need to understand is agents of this NGO who are sent out to recruit.
Are they sent out in different schools?
Yeah, they're sent out in different schools because there are so many agents.
Okay.
Now they are tasked to bring new members to the NGO, probably to make their guest circle big.
Okay.
And then there is that commission that is awarded to every agent upon recruiting. So you can imagine how many that agent would recruit
just to make a lot of money.
Yeah, to make a lot of money to meet that commission fee.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah,
so now let's get back to where we were. You say that they get paid for every video that they shoot.
Yes, every video. And then I remember after a period of six months, after I was attending several of the activities and understanding a lot of things about them, I was asked, like any other member, as I stated, to participate in the making of these gay porn videos at an expense of getting 5 million shillings per each video you shoot. 5 million Ugandan shillings. Yes.
Per each video you shoot.
Definitely.
If I'm to understand correctly, are they the children that are shooting? Like, is it the children?
It is the children
that are acting gay porn.
Yes, they get a child and say you're going to act and you get money. So you're placed in one of the rooms with beds and everything. So they do the shooting and then.
And this is happening in Ugandan schools. They pick kids from schools.
They pick kids from schools, do the acting in the shelters. Now, to be a bit open about the term shelters.
Okay.
The term shelters in the gay context, these are special, well-protected facilities for where the gay community do their recordings, their kind of lifestyles from.
So, what do they look like?
Like I said, they're well protected, well fenced with electric.
Homes, houses, hotels.
Yeah, homes, kind of homes. Okay, what they do is they get residences and buy off that residence, make it permanently theirs. So they make renovation, put electric fence around it. If it need be, get protection from either private security or government, police, something like that, to protect the shelters and probably be free to do whatever they want to do within the premises.
So I now see that there is another question that I now have. Are schools aware of such activities happening, or even these agents that are in schools, are they aware of them?
Yes. Basically, most of the schools, I'll look into the camera, most of the schools are aware of what is going on.
Okay.
This NGO has gone ahead, a step ahead to sign MOUs, memorandums of understanding with several schools, and at the expense of giving them money, of course. And then they sign an expense that we have 1 to 3 agents of ours who are doing some activity here. Please allow them. So the school administrators are aware that this is happening in schools, and they've left it to go on because probably somebody, somehow, somewhere are benefiting.
No, so just to reiterate, you said that this SMUG NGO company or organization has signed MOUs with schools.
Yes.
And schools are actually aware of what is going on.
Yeah.
And they're silent about it.
They're silent because somebody, like I said, somebody somewhere, somehow is benefiting out
from it.
Yes. Because now you've signed an MOU with an organization and you've gotten their money. Definitely. So there is no way you would again change your mind and say no. You definitely have to go by what you signed.
So it definitely goes without saying that we have gay activities that are going on in our schools.
And the administrators of some of the schools are aware and are harboring these
That
activities
pushes
to
me
go on.
to another question. You said you are a member in this SMAG community,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So why are they doing this in schools when they know that it's not allowed? Why are they pushing it in the first place?
They have what they call a very laid out strategy
Okay.
or an agenda
Mm.
that indicates by 2030 something, not so certain, but then by 2030 something they want at least the Sub-Saharan Africa
Yeah,
kind of
Sub-Saharan.
homophobic free. Now, to give you one of the basics in regards to the term homophobic. Homophobic is a term used to mean somebody who is against homosexuality.
I see.
So if you're against homosexuality, I say I'll use that term homophobic. You're homophobic. You're against it, so you're homophobic.
Okay.
You get it? So what they want to do is to make everybody homophobic free.
So they want it to seem like it's a normal thing.
Yes, definitely.
And nobody is against
Yeah,
homosexuality.
and now why they're dealing with the children in schools is because they know me and you or probably any other senior citizen of this country is probably in 10 years or 30 years or 20 years from now probably going to die of.
Okay.
And now if they deal with a young mindset, if they deal with the children, indoctrinate their theories in the children that being gay is okay and you're born gay with all those lies, then definitely they know in those 30 years when you and me have left, of course these children will be the ones now taking charge of everything.
I see. So am I right?
For
to
them
think-
it will be okay to be gay because it was indoctrinated in them while at a tender age, so they've grown up now. It's okay for one to be gay.
So having said that, am I right to think that they basically want to raise a new generation that
Exactly.
is homophobic free?
Exactly, I agree with you, and that is one of their strategies.
I'm just gonna be straight. When having anal sex, like what happens? Do you experience some problems that
Yes, you do.
cause you to get sick or have organ dysfunctions? I don't know. So what really happens?
Yes, while children are recording gay porn videos, basically there is no protected sex. There is no pre-testing of
No
one's-
precautions of anything
no
or
precautions,
of
no
one's health,
pre-testing
of one's health.
before the day of shooting.
I
At least
see.
there would be that pre-testing of one's to ascertain one's
If
HIV
somebody's
status
healthy,
or
yeah.
health status, but then that is not considered. That's not done. So basically, since the recording or the kind of sexual recording or act is not protected one, definitely that is also a possibility of transmission of so many diseases. Two, this anal part of one's body was meant for passing out, not passing in.
Not
Now,
putting in something.
Yes. Now, you find instances where children are being lowered to these activities of indulging themselves in recording gay porn. And that kind of friction, that kind of force being used probably is also another way of harboring and then
Infections.
easily transmitting these infections.
Yeah, because from what I understand and according to research, the gay community is more prone or susceptible to getting HIV/AIDS.
Yes, and then other illnesses, not only HIV, but then other illnesses.
Okay, still here with Mr. Elijah, an ex-gay member who is creating awareness about the gay activities that are happening in our country, Uganda. So, Elijah, yes.
The first time that I did that shooting of the gay porn video, I remember I bled so much to one extent that I was recommended for surgery.
You bled a lot.
I bled a lot, and then, of course, the pain.
Wasn't that excruciating? Why did you choose to go on?
No, like I shot that first whatever.
Yes.
That first video, but then I'm talking of the experience. Like,
Yes.
It was a lot of pain, and then the bleeding that came along with the pain. We actually didn't shoot so well because there was blood.
All over.
Yeah, so we had to cancel off the shooting and then extend. I was recommended for medical treatment at one of the hospitals that are affiliated or that have partnerships with the LGBT community.
Wait, earlier on you said that the schools that sign MOUs with this SMAG organization.
Yes.
And now you're saying there are hospitals that are affiliated with this SMAG organization.
Exactly. And these a few hospitals or a few medical centers have signed MOUs with SMAG, and there's a lot of funds that come for them basically to treat the LGBT people, or probably those that have been affected with the effects of shooting these videos, are taken to those hospitals and given special attention or special treatment.
So who takes you to the hospital? When you get to the hospital,
we have coordinators. We
them?
have coordinators with there's several coordinators within the SMAG NGO, or what they call department.
Okay.
So there is that department of health. So of course they're in charge of anything to do with health.
So when something backfires, when something happens, they take you to one of the hospitals that...
Yes, I remember I was taken to Nakasero Hospital where I got my first treatment and then my surgery kind of. So, and it took me about 3 to a month for me to heal and then probably go back for more shooting.
What is this kind of treatment? What is
you're taken for surgery, and then of course, like I said, they target those good hospitals that of course will give you very strong medicine that will enable you to heal so fast, so that you come back and shoot more videos and then probably make them good money.
So basically the hospitals are aware of what is going on in our country.
Like I said, they sign MOUs.
And they're the ones that are actually treating kids with whatever that is going on.
Yeah.
That is very horrifying. Okay, so go on with your experience.
Yes, like I said, I bleed and then the pain, so we cancelled off the shooting that day and then I had to go for treatment. And yes, I got treatment, and after a month I recovered somehow, so I had to go back.
So I want to assume you weren't the only person.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I realized there were so many kids who were being taken to these hospitals for treatment.
What makes you leave?
Well, I quit because, one, I started experiencing strange things about me.
Okay.
I remember the year 2021. I started feeling sickly. My life suddenly changed. I would be so weak during evening hours, and of course all other signs that come along with being weak. So generally I went to see a medic. I spoke to the medical personnel about my health and then the strange things that were happening with me, and then we agreed that we would do several tests. So the medic recommended that I do some tests, so I went in for the tests, and surprisingly results came out and they weren't happy.
Okay.
They didn't make me happy. The results never made me happy. So I remember I went into that stage, I think it's called the denial stage, right?
Stage,
yeah, like I would say no, this is not right, And then the other thing that I forgot to say is I had other friends of mine, the colleagues within that community, what the cause of their death was. So that triggered me so much to probably quit being LGBT and then help as many as I could help that were still in the LGBT community, and then those that were a likelihood of falling the same circumstances that I went through.
So do you go back and tell them you're sick? And if you tell them, what do they do about it?
Yes, I remember when I took the results, from the laboratory back to the doctor, and then there was that explanation that you need a counselor, blah 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 blah. So I remember I took a month, locked up myself in the room. I would only move out in the evenings to go buy something to eat, and then probably come back and spend a whole day indoors, and then move out in the evening. So after a month, I went and sat down with the management of SMAG, and I'm like, look at these results here. You need to help me and explore possibilities of how best we could handle this matter, and then probably get medication. And then they shunned me away. They're like, so I later realized, oh, this is what you've been doing to all my other colleagues that have died, and up to now nobody has ever come out to
So if I may ask you, talking about colleagues who have died, what happens when they go back to SMAG, to the organization, and they tell them that they're sick, and then they get shunned away? So what do these kids do? And when they die, do we have any sort of investigations that happen to find out why they died?
Okay, let me explain that also. I have colleagues that have died in a manner that they were diagnosed with different illnesses, tried to go and explore possibilities of how they could be enrolled on medication, and be supported by this NGO that recruited them into filming their porn videos. But then they're shunned away, their requests are not considered, and so most of them get what they call psychological problems.
Yes.
So I think because of their reasoning capacity, since they're children,
it gets overwhelming for them
to handle, and then probably some of them commit suicide.
I see. So earlier on, you again mentioned that when things get worse, they finally shun you away. So
yes.
What is that point that makes it so bad that this SMAG organization chooses to kick you away?
Well, what they do is, once you're tested with long-time illnesses, that is, at the moment, they dump you off, like you're wasted off. So you cannot. Their main objective, let me be honest, is in relation to the devil's agendas, to kill, destroy, and that is what they're doing. They get you, they kill you, and they destroy you. They will not physically kill you, like shoot you or something like that.
Yeah, I do.
But then, mentally wise, spiritual wise, and
emotionally,
they will kill you.
I understand. So I am to understand that this SMAG community recruits kids.
SMAG has an executive director who is known by Frank Mukisa.
Frank, that sounds Ugandan. So
yes, Frank Mukisa is the executive director. Sexual minorities Uganda. And then Kasha Jacqueline is one of the directors. There is Pepe Onzima, and then others and others and others, depending on their departments. Their directors in charge of legal, directors, health, director. So
is he working alone? Does he have partners? And how does he get money?
Like I said, SMAG, Sexual Minority Uganda, is highly funded. They're highly funded by different international NGOs such as WHI. They have international action. What? There's that action. There's UNAIDS. There's UNAIDS, of course, and others. Defenders. So they're highly funded. So, the U.S. Embassy, Canada, the Canada whatever. They're highly funded. So basically, that's what you need to know, that SMAG is highly funded. They partner with several government institutions, such as the Uganda Police.
I see.
Yes, in terms of providing security for them to carry on their activities, they partner with Uganda Police, and I would refer you to one of the latest reports by the NGO Bureau.
Okay.
That clearly indicates that it had established that SMAG had partnered with the Uganda Police.
Oh,
Yes.
I see. So earlier when you mentioned that you didn't want to see any other children go through what you went through.
Yes.
So have you done something
Yes. Like
to stop this? So what is your way forward?
Yes. Now, to draw to my way forward, I have taken action. Not only creating awareness in schools and with all the children and then the parents, I went an extra mile and petitioned the NGO Bureau and said, look, there's an NGO that is recruiting children in schools. Did you know about it? They're like, well, we didn't know. Okay. We will look into your petition and then get back to you. After a month or 2 months, I remember, they came out with a letter which was written to me and said, Elisha, please give us some time as we wind up with our investigations. And after that subsequent week, I remember very well, on the 15th of August, the NGO Bureau came out with a report saying it had carried investigations and it had established a number of illegalities that government institutions were partnering with an illegal NGO.
Do we have any of the institutions that were partnering with?
Yes, the Ministry of Health. And then I'll also enlighten what the Ministry of Health was doing with SMAG.
Why would the Ministry of Health partner with SMAG?
SMAG would import lubricants from the US, lubricant oils that were used in recording the gay porn videos. So what Ministry of Health would do is to clear
them off,
to clear them to come in as if they were drugs, and then later dispatched to the LGBT, to the SMAG organization for them to carry on the activities.
They carry on the activities.
And then the hormones, the hormone pills that were given to the boys to probably change the hormones into girls, and then the girls to change into boys, were being cleared also by the Ministry of Health.
That is very unfair.
And then they had another partnership with the Uganda Human Rights Commission. How, in case anybody, like any concerned citizen, would come against their actions and what they were doing, they would of course use the Department of Uganda Human Rights Commission to defend them and say, look, it is our human right to live who we are and to be who we are, you know.
So you spoke about security. You talked about the shelters being well protected,
yes,
and all of that. This kind of security or protection, what do you exactly mean?
I meant that they had a partnership, an MOU signed with the Uganda police.
So the Uganda police is protecting these
yes,
shelters?
It was providing protection.
Okay.
Physical protection, like deploying officers to guard. And I'm sure most of the neighbors within where these shelters were or are could have thought these were American embassies or kind of other branches of the American embassy.
Could you mention a few places where these shelters are?
Yes, one of them is there's the main offices or the main shelters in Tina Chigowa. There's one in Mienga. There's those on Salama Road, just Unyonyo Road, and then others, Nansana and elsewhere. So I wrote to the Minister for Children, the Ministry in charge of children. Yes, I definitely met the Honorable Sarah Mateke, the Minister for Children. I brought this to her attention, and I remember she called for an immediate meeting. And then, till now, of course, we are getting interferences with other foreign bodies like the EU, the AU Parliament and the AU Embassy, kind of, and then the US Embassy that's come in to interfere with the investigations. But then I petitioned the ministry in charge of children. I've petitioned the Minister for Education and said, look, children are being lowered into homosexuality from schools. I've also written to the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament and petitioned the Parliament about what is going on, because this is a matter of national importance that should be addressed, or else you're going to find instances where the next generations to come.
Okay, so if we are to talk about homosexuality, of course, this goes to, it's covered in the inappropriations of culture.
Yes.
And from what we understand, it's against most of the African cultures and even church beliefs.
Exactly.
So have you somehow contacted the church? Like, have you spoken to a few church pastors, priests, or any church leader or religious leader?
Yes, I have. I've tried to liaise with the Archbishop's office, Archbishop Church of Uganda, who is currently the chairperson, Interreligious Council. But then, of course, there are a lot of frustrations that come along with interacting with these people, because some of them, and to be honest, are already compromised.
What do you mean they are already compromised?
Some of them are already receiving money from the homosexual supporters and the funders of the LGBT. So some of them decide not to say any word or not to make any comment about homosexuality, because you would find instances where some of them are already either LGBT members or homosexuals already, or they're already earning. So that is one of the challenges I've met, that most religious leaders ain't standing, because some of them have decided to take the other step of being compromised, or if not, they're already homosexuals themselves. So that is one of the challenges I've met, and as a result, I decided to make this thing personal and probably make it a self-initiative that I have to personally push it on, because the other people that I would depend on,
they are already compromised.
Yes, some of them are compromised and the rest are not saying any word.
Well, that is
they're silent about what is
very
going on.
saddening. So if I'm to reiterate, you talked to some of the religious leaders,
Yes.
some of maybe church leaders or whatever, and they're receiving money from LGBT, or they could be members, so they do not talk about this.
Yeah, they don't. They're silent about it, and they don't want to mention about it. You know, some of them start, my church is it has international audience. At the moment I start talk about homosexuality, probably the funds that have been getting from the international communities will reduce or will...
Okay, so you talked about the churches being compromised. Do you have any evidence or proof of the churches that you think are compromised?
Yes, definitely I have. I have a copy of one of the MOUs that was signed between Sexual Minorities Uganda and then the churches. 35 religious leaders of them have signed an MOU to to protect and promote homosexuality activities while inside churches. And like I said, this NGO sends out its agents. Now, these MOUs have been signed to accept these agents to come within church and recruit at a free place, and they're not stopped. They're allowed to exercise and do whatever they want to do within the church spaces. And then the other issue is, I know a fact that most of the radio stations, the owners are religious leaders.
Yes, most of them.
And now, reasons why part of my testimony is not heard on those radio stations is because most of these religious leaders, like I said, are already compromised with the MOU they signed. So definitely you will not have such an interview, give an audience on their platforms, because they're already into the act, or probably they're already compromised.
So basically to understand that this SMAG community, or if I'm to say homosexuality or LGBT community, has already signed a lot of MOUs with different institutions like churches, schools, hospitals in Uganda.
What SMAG is doing is to actually influence and target those big key institutions of the country. Now, when you deal with church, you deal with schools, you deal with ministries, you've won. You've won the battle.
I see
if you deal with a church that is supposed to protect the morals, you deal with government institutions like the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of the police, security, and then you've killed it all. Now what else?
Okay, so do you have any sort of evidence of homosexuals in churches or in religious
Yes, I do.
institutions?
I have colleagues, I'll call them previous colleagues, that I would work with in several churches like Miracle Center, Watoto Church. I know colleagues in Fanero. Yes, and across the country. There's so many.
And these pastors are also aware of such things, and they're quiet.
They are aware because remember I said 35 of them signed an MOU, which MOU was to protect and give space to the agents to do freely.
To do whatever they have to do.
Yes, so definitely the pastors are aware.
They are aware.
And that is why they are quiet. Not only pastors, and then these other religious leaders. I know reverends from the Church of Uganda who are involved in these activities. I know pastors, prominent pastors who are involved in this activity. I know Catholic fathers who are involved.
I think that explains why we don't see any
Religious leader
publicly being against homosexuality or LGBT because they are already compromised.
Exactly.
Okay, so Mr. Elisha, as you're giving your final remarks, I would like to understand what kind of advice can you give schools, because I see it's already eaten up most of the schools. What advice can you give the youth? What can you talk about the church, the government itself? Because you spoke about different government entities being involved in this. And what can you say to the country at large?
Well, basically, I would start with the parents. My advice to the parents would be is to be cautious. Take caution about who accesses your child at home, who are the friends of your child, what is that your child is possessing that you never gave to them. For example, I'll give you instances where children apparently are holding very expensive latest phones. I know of colleagues who have already possessing the latest iPhone 14. But then you try to inquire their source of income and they don't have.
Yes, I see.
So as a parent, it would all lie back to you. You need to take caution and then be inquisitive about where your child has gotten this phone. You know, before we start blaming government and then the schools,
it goes back
to you as a parent. What are you doing as a responsible mother, as a responsible father? Your child is carrying an iPhone that you never gave to them, and they're supposed to be in school and they're not in school.
Or
they're out on a party.
Different homes,
you know?
They're having parties.
Yes, I know children within holidays, when schools break up for holidays, you find they're always out. And then you realize most of their friends are male boys. I mean, they're male friends. And then as a parent, you need to inquire, you need to be inquisitive about your child. Why are they always hanging out with fellow boys, and why all the time?
I see.
You know? Yeah. Because this is already happening, that gay are befriending children in schools. So your child is moving out always with male friends, and then as a parent you say, no, those are his friends. But then you're going to realize that your child is already...
Actually, there is something that I saw that was trending about the gay community supplying book material.
Yes, of course they did that.
They call them the gay BC. So I think also parents should be very cautious with
what your child is reading.
Check their textbooks.
Yes, check their bags. What is in the bags? What kind of textbooks are they reading? I'm very sure the LGBT community has strategized a lot of options.
They're well equipped.
They have strategized a lot of options, and one of their options in indoctrinating children is through the textbooks, through what they read on the phones. Not everything, not all content that is on internet is good for the children.
Of course.
I know several websites, gay dating websites, just here in Uganda. One of them being Grindr. The children are already joined. Have already joined, and they are, they're using it as a hooking site for them to meet and then do their. But then that all goes back to a parent. Are you doing your work as a mother? Are you doing your work as a father? When you're giving all the audacity and all the the pleasures that come with the freedom, to your child to do whatever they want to do. Your child comes back at home in the night. They move out for clubbing while they are in their young ages, tender ages, and then as a mother you say, you human rights, leave your children to do what they want to do. It is human rights.
And also you mentioned earlier that you rented an apartment.
Yeah.
But of course this goes back to the parents. So you have a teenager who is renting an apartment and they are not working, they have no salary or anything, so you should be more cautious. How can they afford an apartment when they're not working?
Exactly. Right? And then the other thing is, I want you to be able to notice so many of the boys or the girls that are living a luxury life, probably in apartments. Then you try to trace their source of income and you fail to get one. Definitely they are homosexuals or they are lesbians. Trust me.
They're already recruited.
Yes. And if they're not already recruited, they're already agents who are already recruiting others.
I see.
Now, a child is in the ages of 18, 19, 20. But they're already staying on an apartment. And they're holding expensive phones. They're supposed to be in schools, but they're not in school. And then you realize they don't have any source of income. Definitely they're affiliated to SMAG.
They have no source of income, but they're making it rain.
They're always clubbing. They're always in happening places. But then you trace their source of income. Where do they get the money? I know of colleagues who come from very remote areas, very poor families, but then they're sleeping in apartments and they don't work. But then all that goes back to the mother, to the father, to the family. What are you doing about your son or about your daughter who is living a luxury life and they're not working? Where are they getting the money?
I see. Okay, so let's go to the remarks of the schools themselves, because you say that some schools are already recruited or they're in affiliation to SMAG.
Yes.
So what can you say about schools, most especially owners of schools, teachers?
Yes, I've written, like I said, I've written a petition to the Minister for Education and say, look into this. Several schools have signed MOUs with SMAG to allow SMAG's agents recruit children from schools, and you're the minister and then the schools fall under your docket.
Yes.
Please look into this matter. So we in the process of awaiting what the Honorable Minister will have to say about it.
Okay, I see, and I hope that turns out right.
Because it wouldn't make sense for me to say I am availing my piece of advice to the schools, yet they've already signed MOU. So I need to draw back to the regulator, who is the Minister of Education, and say, look, these schools are contradicting with our laws. They're allowing agents of an NGO whose mandate is to recruit children to recruit children in schools. What are you doing as a regulator? So that's why I said we have petitioned the Honorable Minister for Education, and we are awaiting her response or reaction.
Okay, I see. Let us really hope that turns out right.
Let me say something about the youth. Back then, it would be very easy for one to identify who a homosexual was or who an agent of the homosexual community was. Because probably they would be girlish, or probably the way they would dress, their dress code, probably they would have piercings on their ears, or probably their kind of hairstyle. But then these days, things have changed. According to the roles that are played within the LGBT community, people have now changed. They have twisted and developed new kind of formation on how they are able to recruit and how they are able to present themselves.
I see.
So these days, you would find somebody that would be an agent, or for example, sexual minority Uganda, who would probably not have piercings, or would probably have an appropriate kind of hairstyle,
or something that distinguishes him from someone straight.
Yes, and then it would of course take somebody so much time to understand whether they are either gay or not, because they're not girlish, They don't have any any kind of piercings on their ears. So they've tried to strategize new ways of So my advice would be to the youth that you simply need to be conscious of who is your friend
and what their interests are
and then be conscious.
So
every step they take, the money they give you, the kind of words they use, as a youth you need to be conscious. Otherwise there's so many ways the homos have strategized to use to lower the youth into.
So basically it's not about their physical appearance.
No. It's not affiliated to how one conducts himself or how they behave or how they dress. No. These days it has all changed.
So how do we relate that back to the church now?
Well, with church, if there are still those standing religious leaders out there, which I am doubtful, but if they are still other religious leaders standing, then my request to them or my recommendation would be that as religious leaders, as the Church of Christ, they need to come out and pronounce themselves on these issues, because apparently this is what is happening.
Yes.
This is not something that people used to say. It is in the US, it is in the Canada, it is
now happening.
It is now here.
Yeah.
Now it is something that church needs to give attention to, because it is eating up either their children,
yes,
or the children of the nation. So my advice would be that the church needs to strongly stand against homosexuality, stand against the activities of these NGOs, because they are not only SMAG but other organizations that were under Sexual Minorities Uganda. So even when the bureau closed down SMAG, it did mean that these other NGOs will not work. They already operating these other NGOs that were under SMAG. So the church should strongly come out and condemn the activities of these NGOs in regards to recruiting children into homosexuality activity.
I see. Then lastly, before we close up, your final remarks to the government itself.
Yes, of course, after appealing to the parents, after appealing to the youth and the church and the children in schools, I would lastly recommend and probably pray that the government retables policies or laws that regulate, one, the NGOs, two, a law should be enacted or should be retabled in regards to homosexuality. Strong laws with strong clauses in regards to homosexuality. Otherwise, as I'm seeing things, in the next 5 or 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, the agendas of the homosexuality, of the homosexuals is going to manifest.
I see.
Yes.
So in your pursuit to create awareness in all of this, like you say, the smart community or the LGBT or in simple terms homosexuality or the homosexual group is well linked, well affiliated to different organizations and institutes. So how are you surviving in this? Do you feel safe? Do you have any kind of protection? How are you doing it?
Well, I was going to finalize with that. I am not protected by Uganda police like they are. I am simply protected by God, because this calling actually came from God. You can do some little research. How many people in Uganda have tackled or have spoken about this subject? Very few. And I'm sure those that have tried to could have stopped somewhere, because probably their interests were about the money as opposed to me. So I am currently experiencing threats, intimidations, blackmail on social media, and
could you give us some
false
examples
propaganda
of threats and
yes,
all of that?
Of late there was a Twitter space that was held by Dr. Stella Nyanzi on the effects of the ex-gay movement, and I'm sure it had over 4 of 5 million participants. And whatever was being said is Elisha has become a threat, is targeting closure of LGBT organizations, which of course are illegal and inconsistent with our laws, because there is no way anywhere that our laws allow homosexuality.
Yes,
or these NGOs purportedly say that for the homosexuals. So there was a Twitter space that was held against the work I'm doing, raising awareness, and of course my awareness has come along with other challenges in terms of, now for example, I am apparently not working because basing on the kind of work I'm doing, the awareness I'm doing, it's that is already creating insecurity for me. It is a very sensitive matter that apparently cannot enable me to work. So I am having challenges in terms of sustainability, how I live my life because I'm not working, and basically the insecurities, and then how I am able to sustain my life since I am not working.
Okay, so now basically for you, you managed to come out of this.
Yes.
So do you know of any other victims that are in the same position that you were in that would maybe want to come out? And if they do, how can they be helped? Yes. And if they can be helped, what is hindering them from getting that help or even coming out?
Well, like I said, I am currently having insecurity threats, and then concerns to do with my security. So I have a number of friends that are still in the LGBT community, and those that have left, that keep texting me, and probably some of those that are still in the community want to leave, but then their worry is about their security.
I see.
So they keep asking me, how are you managing your security? Because I know these people are highly connected, and so how are you managing? So I'm like, it's God who has done it. So if the government could come out and probably facilitate a facility where to keep these people, probably take them through the process of rehabilitation, and ensure they get reintegrated back to society after rehabilitation, then that would be the best thing I would recommend.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elijah, for allowing me to be my guest. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope that whatever plea that you've made gets to be taken into consideration.
That would be my biggest prayer.
All right then. Thank you so much, our viewers. We shall see you again when we have